What's happening, everyone? We're here today. Jeremy's here. Finally, we have a radio professional on the show. And just by looking at him, you know this guy's got to be in radio.
Absolutely. Cotton, it's a pleasure to be here. I know we talked about this for like a year and a half. Glad to actually be here and recording with you.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, man. Sierra Nevada's a Josh Cotton special.
Always. Well, you know, I'm from Chico. Not born and raised, but I've lived there for a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, this is the go-to beer around there. Everybody carries it.
Yep.
And nobody ever runs out of it. It's always in kegs. And by the way, did you know it's a different recipe in the bottle than it is in the keg?
I did not know that, of course.
Completely different brews. And if you get the sampler at the Sierra Nevada Brewery, they'll bring you out each one so you can taste the difference. So
it's phenomenal information already. Your fridge is packed with them. I'm glad to get that and get rolling here, man.
You heard it here first, folks.
So podcasting, what got you into it?
Oh man, well I think I got this. I got into it a couple episodes ago, but you know, my grandpa originally wanted me to do research, and I actually reached out to you. Remember?
Yeah, I do.
Because you were getting yours. It was I think it was during like the pandemic, and you were getting yours done, getting it underway, and he wanted to start his up because he was, you know,
your grandpa wanted to do a pod?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, dude, that's who I grew up. That's who kind of got me into like being interested in journalism at all.
Yeah,
you know, that was, believe it or not, my major when I was in college.
I can't see you doing that.
Yeah.
I could have sworn it was a IT specialist.
Yeah, I would have never seen that coming. Ever. You know? I mean, it took me forever to get a PS4.
How many PSs are there now? For those at home, PlayStation, PS, yeah?
There are 5, but you really only need 3.
Okay.
Here's why. So, underneath my TV, I have all the Nintendo set up and all the PlayStations, right? But only the PlayStations that you need. I have PlayStation 2 because that can play PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1. I have PlayStation 3, which plays the 3 games because I don't have the backwards compatible one.
Of course.
And of course, you have PlayStation 5, which plays 4 and 5. Therefore, making the 1 and the 4 not needed in the house.
Yeah.
I have them, but we have them so we don't need them.
I think I got up to PlayStation 2. That was about my max capacity of video gaming back in the day.
What? Who?
PlayStation 2? You don't remember?
My mom?
I'm just saying. Remember Crash Bandicoot, PlayStation?
Hell yeah.
Great stuff.
Dude, Crash Bandicoot is, I mean, that was kind of like the, like flagship character of Sony. You know, they had Mario, they had Sonic, you had Bandicoot.
That's a wild combination of those three. Like Mario, huge all time. And then Crash Bandicoot. What was he?
A bandicoot.
Oh, I guess that's a real animal?
That's a real animal.
I thought he was like a mixture of a squirrel, you know, Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy, like a grown-up version of him.
I'm pretty sure that's a real animal.
A bandicoot?
I've never seen anybody with one.
It's like a mongoose. Like I've heard that as a bike. Is that a real animal?
A mongoose is definitely a real animal. Haven't you seen the movie Ricky Tikki Tavi?
Nope, can't say I have.
Oh, it's a big mongoose movie. If you're a mongoose fan and you don't care for snakes, I like both. So it was a hard movie for me to watch. You see these guys killing snakes left and right.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's mongoose. Mongoose is, I don't know if they have like some kind of an immunity to the poison, but they're extremely fast.
Yeah.
Like way faster than a cat. And a cat can dodge a snake.
What's your favorite obscure animal like that? I would have to pick a wolverine. Never seen a wolverine, never in a zoo or a museum. I know about Michigan football wolverines. Probably one of the coolest random animals. And the movie Wolverine, Deadpool.
I would think a pangolin. Because...
The pandemic?
I would rather not relive that.
Okay, fair.
A pangolin, because it's like... It's kind of like a lizard, but it's kind of like a mammal. You know, it's a lizard. Or
hard shell, right? On the back, it's a hard shell.
It's the only a mammal with an armored something. Because no, that's not true. Because an armadillo has some armor, but it's something like that to where it's like the only mammal that is basically like that. But I guess there's all kinds of people hunting them because of there's medicinal properties and everything like that too.
All right, I don't want to get too deep into the pandemic. I had thoughts, but back to podcasting. Just want to give you a shout out. The production value, the caught in the moment, fantastic name for a podcast. I'm glad you and I had a little conversation probably in the last 2-3 years about you wanting to get here and now creating a podcast and putting out these episodes. Bravo to you, Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Jeremy. I mean, it's fun, right? It's like I love doing it. It's I didn't know exactly. Well, when I started, it's kind of like you just get into it and you just put out something, right? And then you just improve upon that. I mean, I think the first episode was me sweating my ass off in that chair over there, just talking to the camera.
What was the topic? Were you talking cars?
For a little while, yeah, it was me and Drew, my producer. Yeah. So it was like we would just kind of go back and forth. But I mean, one thing that's wild about doing one, especially on cars, is that I drive all kinds of cars around, and it's like every car has its own personality, It's so, I mean, you think like a car is a car, and I think maybe when you get to like the new cars, they are kind of always acting the same, but as time goes on, each car develops its own personality.
Have you named your cars? Every car you've ever had? Do they have a nickname?
Not all of them.
The majority of them? Obviously, Bumblebee,
and then the one before that was
the Green Ranger.
No, because that was silver. We called it the Falcon because it had a hyperdrive in it.
Yeah.
And it had a couple special modifications I made myself, and I was able
those special mods. Gotta love them from Mr. Cotton.
And I used like panels in there, like I used my spare tire compartment to keep my nitrous tank. Mm-hmm. So if I was getting a flat tire, I'm calling AAA.
I had a Jeep Grand Cherokee, as you're very well aware.
Oh,
hold on. And I named it Vader. If you look at it, all black, and it has the grill, a Jeep grill. Kind of looks like the Vader mask. Vader also means dad. Got it right when I was having my first child. So it was so fitting. I think naming a car is something that is, a great thing to do when you have it. And as you were mentioning earlier, it creates identities for the car.
Do you think Vader would like to be identified as a car that's a 2-wheel drive V6?
I don't want to get into the identification. He might be that, but he might also identify as a 4-wheel drive that can climb a mountain.
Vader doesn't strike you as some guy that's definitely going to have a V8 no matter
It doesn't
what.
matter what he was born as. It matters what he identifies as now and where he can go. I'm going to sell it pretty soon. Obviously, you're aware I got a new one recently, so good run from Vader out there.
So let's talk about getting the base model of a vehicle, okay? Let's talk about getting the model that they just make to be cheap and they don't spend any R&D on. Mm-hmm. So you got the Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Yep.
Famous off-road vehicle.
One of the greatest of all time.
But you got it in 2-wheel drive. You got it in 2-wheel drive. You got it in V6. And I'll tell you, I can't let you live this down, and I know you're getting uneasy because I can feel it.
I'm fine. I knew this conversation was coming.
I can feel it.
There's like 4 or 5 of our memories that I know are going to come up, and I carry on.
I just want you to feel bad about it. That's all. And I want your daughter to watch this in the future.
My daughter loves Vader.
And I want her to forget that she ever had a dad that would give her a V6 2-wheel drive. Only let her experience this car. As far as she's concerned, don't even ever talk about that other car.
My thought was, when am I ever going to need this to drive over a mountain? I'm going to drive on a freeway. A 2-wheel drive can do that. Hey, better gas mileage out of it. I might save $1 here and there. It was my first car I purchased. I love that car. Keep Vader's name out your mouth.
How many bucks do you think you saved?
Over the years, who knows? It was a good run, but
how much testosterone do you think you lost?
0. All man over here. All right, getting back to us. Get into us meeting each other, the Levi Stadium run, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, okay. So you were part of the big hires that we did.
Yep.
I talked about that with Tim last episode where we just went in and I was basically, they were asking questions. I was basically checking for pulses and criminal records, which more so the pulses and the criminal records, obviously.
Yeah.
But so I had taken on a more IT focused role at Levi's, and we had just got the jersey press in, which is you make custom jerseys with it. Type in the name, prints it out, They heat press it on the jersey. And I was really, you might say, not thrilled about having to like learn that right away. And you were like, you know what? I can get this. I'm gonna make this mine. And you called your shot. You're like, and I was like, I didn't even ask. I didn't ask, but you turned to me and were like, I'm gonna do this. I was like, oh, all right, whoever you are. And your name turned out to be Jeremy. And
Yep.
you know, you've always been kind of a voice of reason that was maybe needed but never asked for.
That's a great assessment. Keep going.
Also, you're from LA. Which
Not quite. I'm from Oxnard.
That's
Southern California. Give me the greater Southern California. I despise LA as much as you do, at least like because I work in the city and it is as much of a headache as most people would assume it would be, but LA's beautiful. San Francisco's beautiful despite everything that the news would tell us. These are great American
San
cities.
Francisco used to be beautiful.
Still is. Was there for 4th of July weekend. It was a great time.
You must have just got there right after Xi Jinping left, or maybe they invited a different dictator and they cleaned up after him.
Could be possible. Did not see a lot of homeless people. It was very clean. Anyways,
it takes them a while to get back in because wherever they shipped them off to, they have to make their way back, and obviously not all of them have cars.
Yeah. My first recollection of you at Levi's was, Josh is the IT specialist here. He was one of the salaried, or no, you were hourly at the time still, right? But
much to their chagrin.
One of the higher up managers. I was just a sales associate hired with probably 100, 150 for that first year. Just another face in the crowd.
Another red shirt to throw to the meat grinder.
Yes, exactly. Start doing the jersey press thing, and I realized Josh would come in and just tell everybody like, well, you got to do this. Everyone just had the idea like, Josh is a really smart individual. And then I realized like you were probably the greatest BSer of information. Like, guys, here's what it is. And you could be mostly correct, but you could say it in such a way that no one else would quite understand of the technical side, of the IT side, whether it's with us, a lower level sales associate, or the higher ups from the 49ers to us. Over the years, I realized like that is your mastercraft. You could spin it, twist it, and communicate it effectively enough to where the other person would be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, we'll roll with that.
Let's not also forget that I could bop it, pull it, twist it, fling it.
Flick it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, everybody had, IT systems are a tricky thing. And point of sale systems in themselves are tricky as well.
Especially at a stadium where it's not like we have one store and then all the satellite stores. I think you and Ben were getting into this of like, we need to set up a location here where there's no internet, and it's like the ability to get internet there and conduct sales was basically all of you throughout the entire stadium. So we were at your mercy to give us internet and process sales.
There was a time, I remember going around for like a couple days, and I would just have one of those orange carts and a point of sale system, a cradle point, and a generator. And I drove around to see where I could go and that it would still get served. And we were good, right?
Yeah.
But what you don't take into account, and why things go wrong on game days where they don't go wrong on days that you test it, is internet signals, when they transfer through the stadium, they get interrupted by people.
Yeah.
Like we're just bags of water. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're bags of water that soak up Wi-Fi signals. And so I told them we need more access points. Like the Giants did an access point underneath, I think, every other seat.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big initial investment, obviously. And when we were new, we weren't really equipped to do that because we were.
Can we do it for less? Is basically the slogan.
Yeah. Well, remember when we moved in, it was like, oh well, we're concentrated on the chocolate room, or this is going to be on the top. We're going to grow all our herbs and spices.
This is a $1.2 billion stadium. Yeah. Like, what are we doing here?
We're going to make our own beef here. It's like wrong.
We're going to grow cows on the top roof and
wrong.
Yeah.
It's like. The cows are okay up there until you have that military flyby every game, which I raced up there to get every game. That was my highlight.
What's your most memorable one? Do you remember one flyover over any of the others? Or
the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get at.
The Super Bowl was so badass. It was like Because not only was I on my way up there just to see the flyover,
Yeah.
but I got up there and I'm like waiting for the elevator with Dwight Clark.
Yeah.
You know, and he's got like
R.I.P.
He's got like his suit on, but then the Chuck Taylors.
Yeah.
You know, of course. But we get in. It's Larry Fitzgerald in there. We get it. We stop at the next floor. Seal gets in. And I'm like, come on, you guys. I don't give a shit about you guys. Any of you guys. I just want to see the flyover. We're going to miss it.
Where were you going to? Were you going to NRG Solar Terrace?
Yeah, to the 9th floor.
Damn. I'll let you finish, but I was at...
I'm going to let you finish. Famous words.
From Kanye. DHP, the Dignity Health. I run out there and I see it, and I'm under the overhang, so I only see like half of it, and then it goes and disappears. I was miserable. I should have just been with you, but carry on. Once you get up to the top, you see the flyover on Super Bowl 50.
Yeah, it was just I forget even what it was that flew over. It wasn't like a B-1 or anything. But I want to say it was almost like a cargo plane that flew over.
What's the triangle shaped ones?
That's a stealth bomber.
Stealth bomber.
But you could of course. It could be the B-1 or the B-2 or
what about the B-52s?
Or are you talking about the F-117 stealth fighter?
Probably
from the 80s and I think it was maybe 70s, but that has evolved over time, and now we have, of course, the F-22 Raptors, which was what Starscream was in Transformers.
Of course.
The new ones.
But Super Bowl or just being in a stadium, when you hear that flyover, because you see it off in a distance, and then it's just a thunderous roar right over you, and then it's just kind of the cascading sounds as it goes away. Like every time I get goosebumps, and then isn't that like right at the culmination of the national anthem?
Yeah.
I think we had Lady Gaga singing it. Does that make sense for Super Bowl 50?
Was it Lady? I don't think.
I think she sang national. She might have sang "America the Beautiful."
She did the halftime show.
No, that was Bruno, or that was Bruno.
Bruno and him and her.
It was Coldplay, Bruno, and Beyonce.
Oh, Beyonce.
Yeah, the triplets. Remember that?
That's right.
Bruno came out, or Coldplay did the centerpiece. He brought out Bruno and Beyonce. They danced with her high heels, messed up the field. Everyone complained about it later, but yeah, Super Bowl 50. You want to get into that and the enjoyment there? You name dropped a bunch of celebrities. I have somewhere in my notes on my phone the different celebrities I was within like a general vicinity of or seen within like 5-10 feet. That day was like the craziest day of our lives, right? I remember at 3:30 in the morning, maybe 4 in the morning, right when we were at the stadium, because we had to get there super early to get through everything and check in. A golf cart comes screaming around the corner with like 6 people on it. It's the whole Fox NFL Sunday morning show. So it's like Terry Bradshaw, it's Michael Strahan, it's all those guys. I think Deion Sanders and the NFL Network was right behind it, but face to face with all of them, knowing they had a long ass day, we had a long ass day ahead. And then just like the million different celebrities. I remember walking on our underground aisle 2 feet from Roger Goodell. He had his whole crew, and I was right there. And I was like, holy shit, that's Roger Goodell. He looks miserable, but
he's a lot shorter in person.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about like celebrities where you only see on TV. They're either a lot taller or a lot shorter. I think your favorite football player of all time for at least that time,
Cole Beasley,
my guy.
Yes,
when we seen him and the Cowboys, you're like, this motherfucker's 5'7".
He's 5'7", and I got in. So when I got in the elevator with Larry Fitzgerald, I looked at him and I'm like, I could be a wide receiver. I'm not seeing his legs. I'm not seeing his like calf muscles poking through. Yeah. But on like top build, hey,
yeah.
Pretty close.
Yeah,
I was working out a little back then too, to be fair.
Of course, natural.
But, like, he's like, what, 5'11", 6 feet? He's like he's
Larry Fitz looks like an athlete, looks like an NFL wide receiver. Cole Beasley looks like a little IT guy.
They used to call him Measly Beasley.
Did they? Is that what his friends nicknamed him back in high school? That's fantastic.
In college when he was at the cereal bar.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What's your favorite memory of the Super Bowl, of that Super Bowl?
I mean... that I can get into
302 backstock.
One of my favorite ones, catching one of my good friends in the act,
but
with a hot dog mistress
in a hidden, secluded area that no one else should have been in. That was a perfect space to go to do such an act, and I did not believe that story for like a year, and then I was like, damn, that is pretty awesome. Shout out to our guy.
Yeah. He
Solid.
must not be named at this particular juncture.
Yeah. But let's get into that room, the 302 backstock. So every stadium has multiple storage rooms throughout the entire stadium. We had retail storage spaces that we had to just keep our stuff more accessible on that level. We turned it from a storage space into
Josh's tropical bungalow.
it was a bungalow.
It turned out to be like a place that we kept like overstock jerseys at first, right?
Yeah.
We kept like a bunch of the Kaepernick jerseys in there because
we had a lot of them.
Those didn't sell after we moved.
He was very hot, man. They sold a lot, and then stuff kind of went sideways, right?
I mean, yeah. Once defenses figured him out, and he couldn't run out of everything.
I think he was still a talented quarterback, and the team just imploded around him. He lost all the stars from the 2011, 2012, 2013, those teams. The team imploded around him, but I'm alluding to the stuff off the field that either had his jersey go up or plummet and have people coming into our store yelling at us for selling his jersey.
You remember the time were you with me when we went to Pizza My Heart and that guy said that we should all be shot because we wore 49er badges?
I remember getting weird like threats like that. I don't remember anyone saying they should shoot us. But
yeah. And this dude was like, he was by himself, and the guy, the manager, he was like, "Hey, you can't say that here. You need to leave." And I was like, "Nah, man, it's cool. We're not pissed or anything." I mean, I agree with him. We should be shot.
I remember going to. I do not co-sign on that, but I remember going to David's restaurant right across the street from the stadium for lunch, and the same server that served us all the time. And he just came up and was like giving a shit about Kaepernick, like, fuck that guy and all this. And we're like, we did nothing. We were just here for lunch, buddy. Why are you giving us shit?
Like, hey, man, I know I'm wearing the badge and like my sweet coaching jacket, which I was dead. But,
I mean, needless to say, he was a hot topic, a hot button topic, no matter where we went. And we were there working and literally selling his products during that era from 14 through 18 or so. And all that stuff that went on the outside of it. But getting back to the bungalow, one of my favorite places, because we turned it in from a backstock to a post-game hangout space for, I guess, us and the cool kids that we would only invite in there. And we were the only ones that had the key. We could lock it. We would go in there, and that's where we were allowed to decompress post-game. And phenomenal work by you by making it a lounge-like atmosphere. And we were able to just like, because
So have you seen the movie Employee of the Month?
I don't think so.
Where they all work in a Costco and like he converts that top area that they have to get to only with a forklift, and they play cards in there and they drink and stuff.
Is that like Jason Bateman in that one?
No, that's Dane Cook.
Oh, okay.
Dane Cook, Jessica Simpson, Dax Shepard.
I might have seen it once, don't recall it, but is that where you got the inspiration from?
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, that's the best way to describe it. It was like just a place that it was in plain sight. We had fans, everybody walking by, but only 3 keys existed in the stadium. I had one, Jay had one, and
we had one for the store.
Stadium Ops had one.
Okay.
Because it was, you got one of them.
Yeah.
I think you got the Stadium Ops one because there was only 3 of those M1 keys.
I would go there to hide on game days just to like get away from the crowd for 10 minutes of just peace and quiet. You would already be in there with the laptop watching Red Zone, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, let's go.
Well, because that was also... It was a very good centralized area.
Yeah.
So that if somebody was ever like needed something, which they did, I was always there instead of hanging out down in the office under the ground, because that takes forever to get up.
Yeah.
And you can't use the elevators on game days because that's for the handy capables.
Yeah, that one specifically. What was your most random elevator experience at Levi's? Because I had one too. But do you have anyone that comes off the top of your head?
No, because I never got stuck in an elevator.
Not getting stuck. I'm saying like on an elevator with, oh shit, that's so and so with me. I mean, you had the
Super Bowl.
Yeah, that one.
Other than that, I mean, there was always Dwight Clark in there. There was always the alumni guys. So it was kind of like that doesn't really, all the old players, that kind of doesn't count, because I mean, it's all about the shock factor, right? I never really got that until we had that stadium series where it was hockey, and John Fogerty was there, and he did his sound check, but he actually, because when you do sound check, you actually play some songs.
Yeah.
And dude was actually playing, and it was wild, like, because I was like, holy fuck, this is the guy that plays this song. I've grown up listening to all his music, and he's here playing for a crowd of what, 30 people on a sound check day. You know, it's like, holy shit, that really took it. John, it hasn't been anything since then. John Fogerty, that was wild to see. You know, it wasn't an elevator experience, but
yeah, I have a quick elevator experience. You know, Gate F, wasn't that the main one, like the Toyota gate where we would enter in?
Yeah.
So we had the bottom level at the ground level. I get in there with the Z-Rack, some clothes, trying to move it up to whatever, probably Pepsi. Goes up one level, so the main land where the outside will come in. Opens the door, only one person comes in, Ronnie Lott. It's just me with some clothes, and it's Ronnie Lott.
9 fingers.
9.5. Like I swear, I looked. First thing was like Ronnie Lott. I looked at it. It's like, you know, it's only missing the top knuckle part, so it's still like a solid 2/3. So we'll say 9 2/3 finger Ronnie Lott. But he jumps in there, and I was like, oh shit, that is Ronnie Lott. And I don't want to be the fanboy. We come across like. I was just like, you know, I'm doing my job. And he looked at me. He was like, "What's up, man? You working hard today?" Kind of deal. And I was like, "Oh yeah, Mr. Lott. Yeah, I'm moving up these shirts."
Of course you did.
No, I started talking. It was, you know, we have a 30-second, 45-second, and it's just he and I. Like usually when there's a group, you don't get that one-on-one conversation. But the fact that it's just the two of us, it's like awkward if you don't say anything. And he's fucking Ronnie Lott, so of course he opened up the conversation, and we went back and forth. So that was pretty cool. But the coolest celebrity, I guess two of them. One of them was Taylor Swift. The Swifties out there.
Tay-Tay?
She came rolling up after her first concert. She did the back-to-back concerts.
This is pre-Kelsey, everybody. Pre-Kelsey.
Yeah, this is years ago. So she comes up after.
When she was a human being.
We're walking out at the end of the night. She's on her cart. I see her just looking at Twitter and looking at all of her mentions, and they're stuck because there's a lot of traffic. I tell her, "Great show tonight," like a happy little fanboy. And then she looks at me and just, "Oh, thank you very much. You're so kind." It was the nicest interaction I've ever had with a celebrity. Taylor Swift is actually nice.
You know who else is really nice?
Who?
Lady Gaga.
Was she there? I don't remember having a concert there.
The Super Bowl, remember? Because my wife was super pregnant, right? And
Super Bowl and super pregnant.
Super pregnant.
Wild times for you.
Yeah, and I almost didn't go to the Super Bowl, but you know, Lady Gaga invited us all back to her dressing room to have drinks and stuff.
What?
Jay went back there. I think.
No way.
Ashley went back there a couple of, and they're like, "You want to come?" And I was like, "I can't. I gotta get home with my wife." And it was like I ditched Lady Gaga for my pregnant wife, and it's like that made her realize. She was like, "Oh my God, you ditched Lady Gaga for me," and I am so self-confident. Yeah, self-conscious because I'm pregnant and stuff. You know, and it's like that meant the world, but.
And that's why you guys are still together, because you left Lady Gaga's party that night.
Well, and now, like, kind of, you know, 7 years later, my daughter is like huge Lady Gaga fan.
Full circle.
And it's just like, if you only knew how cool she really was, you know, and it's like you meet these people, you know, every once in a while that are just like cool as hell, you know, like I know, and I'll say that somebody who was a total douche. And I won't talk about Barry Bonds this time. But total douche was the guy from Smash Mouth.
What was his name? I think he passed away. They're from San Jose. I remember that.
Yeah, he came for like some Google party or some birthday party.
Yeah.
And he was, oh my God, he was a total dick.
I remember, if we're going total dick and then really nice celebrity, Luke Bryan, fantastic. At least we were talking with the guys that work with Luke Bryan, and they said he's the most down to earth. Like he just wants to go fishing, go hunting. Literally, what his songs say, and his concerts were awesome. And then the uppity, like kind of a dick, was Chris Martin, the lead singer of Coldplay. Like, I remember they were doing the walkthroughs of it, and during the Super Bowl halftime, there are these kids that are all running on the field. One of them kind of veered in front of them, and they're yelling, and Chris is like, "Do not run in front of me." And he's like yelling and berating a little kid for their performance, and just rubbed me the wrong way. Wasn't a fan.
That sounds about right. That does not surprise me at all.
You think Alan would be offended? Diehard Coldplay fan?
I don't think Alan is capable of being offended.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But, you know, like, let's see. Who else was a kind of a jerk there? I mean, you don't really see. You remember the time when Bruce Bochy came in?
Awesome dude, yeah.
Right after he won the last World
He
Series.
made a joke about his head size. That's like,
Yeah.
it landed so well.
That dude is wild. I mean, he's so down to earth, and he's a fucking giant of a man.
Big man, huge head. Said something about like 7 9/8 or 7, whatever, a fraction that didn't even make sense. But all the fans, because this is right after they win probably the World Series in 2014. He's in our store. People are crowding him. We take him to our back area so he can breathe a little bit. And we're like, cool, you good, Bruce? You need anything from us? I kid you not. He says, maybe I'll take a beer. And we were like, hell yeah.
No, I remember. He said, because you're like, can we get you anything? You know, he was like, well, I like a cold beer. He said cold beer.
Yeah.
He wanted a cold beer. He specified, I want a cold beer.
Yeah.
You know, like that kind of guy who he just made everything, like he somehow made all the right decisions.
Yeah.
And he killed it. And he went and rode off into the sunset.
I want to say he came back. I think he's the Texas Rangers manager. Then they won the World Series last year. So Bochy's been a superstar. If I'm wrong, we'll look that up later and you can audit me. But he did come back as a manager. I think it's with the Rangers and they just won. So Bochy's still winning World Series.
How about this? So this doesn't really get talked about very often. When
are we talking sports now?
Yes.
I'm a sports guy.
I heard about that.
You're an IT guy.
Indeed.
We're a match made in heaven.
Here we are yet again. Was it the Rockets that got in trouble for all the cheating with the
Astros? Wrong sport. But
Astros, yeah,
Houston
that's
Astros.
Right. Houston, I knew it was Houston.
You got the right city. Fuck it.
Fuck them. But so
yeah, banging on trash cans.
Right after that happened, COVID happens. And everybody seems to forget and give them a pass now.
Yeah.
Like, because we wanted baseball back, because we wanted sports back. We give them a pass. We didn't. Come on. Like,
that's on the commissioner. He swept it under the rug because he didn't want to make a bigger deal than it was. As a Dodger fan, we lost to the Astros in 2017 when they were cheating. So I definitely remember this. It comes out, they were banging on the trash can if it's going to be a fastball. So your hitters could sit on it and wait, and they know when to swing. If there's no hitting of the trash can, it's going to be an off-speed pitch. So you could wait, and you know it's going to be in the 70, 80 range miles per hour. So it gave them such an advantage. But Rob Manfred said, who cares? It's a hunk of metal, talking about the World Series trophy. When he was asked, would they ever consider giving that World Series championship to the Dodgers? And he said, it's a hunk of metal, offended everyone. They said it's kind of like a non-disclosure where that no one could speak of this anymore. Like, they swept it under the rug. I think they got fined, maybe draft picks, but it was nothing major. And it was all from the commissioner's office, Rob Manfred, worst commissioner in sports currently, that just got rid of it and said, oh, slap on the wrist, you guys are done.
Baseball, yeah. Baseball is really the shittiest run sport as of right now.
I mean, it has its piece. It has its place. It's still America's pastime. It's not a national sport like football is, where everyone gets together and doesn't matter where you're at or where your favorite team is. Like, you're watching football. Baseball's all regional. Like, I don't care about any other sports. I'll watch a Dodger game. A lot of people from the Bay Area, they don't care about any other teams, I should say, and they just want to watch Giants games. It's a regionalized sport, but playoffs are good. Playoffs are still fun.
But, I mean, what can you really do? Nothing. It's how did that even happen? You know what I mean? Like,
the cheating?
Well, no,
or
I mean,
baseball
I know
becoming
how they
boring.
Did it, with the trash cans and stuff, but like, it's disheartening, right? Because that is the kind of sport where it's like the most centered around kids, right?
Yeah.
And these dudes just got caught cheating, got away with it. Basically, nothing happened. Slap on the wrist.
Sweep it under the rug, and we keep it moving.
So what's to stop them next? I mean, you know, all these players had to take an asterisk for doing steroids.
Yeah, good point.
They should take an asterisk for doing that. I mean, you openly cheated. You got caught.
Yeah.
You did cheat. There's no question. There's no ambiguity there.
Yeah.
They need to be given that and an asterisk.
Red Sox did it too. They did it in 2018 when they had a great regular season and they beat my Dodgers in the World Series that year. So I lost back-to-back World Series in 17 and 18 due to two teams that were cheating that both got penalized for it, but slept under the rug, and we keep going. So now the only World Series I have in my lifetime is a pandemic one where they played 50 or 60 games in the regular season, and we've had a great team, as everyone is aware. living in the Bay Area, being a Dodger fan, you guys reminded me how many times the Dodgers choke in the postseason, so I'm very aware. But the fact that the only World Series I get because of those two cheating teams is a pandemic truncated season where they played with, I think, 5,000 fans in the stadium. Alan will still bring it up and say that
Most
that World
of them were
Series,
cardboard cutouts.
they were real people. That was
How do you know?
the
Can we
NBA
verify
did
that?
the video people on the board. Lakers winning a championship that year. I was trying to celebrate during the pandemic, and looking back on it now, it's like, God, it's like,
Why are you checking your watch? Wait, you got somewhere to be?
nah, I hate it keeps going off. You know how Apple Watches are, right? You know how Apple Watches are.
I'm afraid I don't know.
I think it's the world and society we live in. I get a little bzz, and it's like, oh no, I'll stop looking at it. With all due respect to caught in the moment, because I want to be caught in the moment.
We're getting caught in the moment. We're getting there.
Let's get back to the stadium. I want to try to get inside your mind with one of our shared experiences there. Talking about the bungalow earlier, the 302 backstock, our post game decompress and hangout. One of my favorite pictures from us being in there is shout out to our buddy Jay, R.I.P.
Jay?
But Jay in the background, head in his hand, scratching his head. You have a big ice pack on my head. I'm crossed arms, looking a little disheveled. I don't know who else is in there. Maybe Rick Dog, something like that. Of course,
yeah, he was in there because we were the only white people, and him and Jay were like, man,
these fucking white boys are gonna get us fired. So I want you to share your side of the story of why you were holding an ice pack on my head.
All right, Jeremy. So here's how it went down. So we're in the orange cart. Okay, we're in the orange cart. We are basically. I'm traveling up the corkscrew, right? Trying to get up to. I think we were going to like the 700 level or something. But we had a new person that was with us, or not with us, but she had just got hired. Lindsay, shout out to Lindsay. And she was being kind of groomed for like a GM position there. And I kind of had it in my head to where it was like, sometimes I make villains where there is no villains. And so I was like, she's chasing us, because she was in a cart behind us. And I was like, she's chasing us. We got to lose her. And so we get to this, the third level.
Yeah.
And
main concourse area.
I break left, right? And you, in all fairness, were holding a beer instead of onto the cart, because I'm driving and you got to always hold on.
The beer was right between my thighs. I was holding it right there, but
what a lucky beer.
You slam on the brakes, crank the wheel to the left. I'm sitting in the passenger. These are your standard stadium, not a golf cart, but like a flatbed.
Taylor done, flatbed.
Little
cart,
small flatbed, probably 12 feet. But you slam, you veer to the left. I am ejected out of it. I think my feet, ankles go up over the head, slam onto the ground. The phrase that I will never forget, and anytime I hear it reminds me of this, and I'm always like, this fucking guy Cotton. Evasive maneuver. We were not racing nobody. We were not. There was no like Mario Kart start and finish. We were driving two carts. I thought she was in front of us.
No, she was behind, and we were.
How did she not see me get launched?
Because we worked. The evasive maneuvers worked. She didn't catch on. She didn't see us. The evasive maneuvers worked, and we.
How does that win the race? You were just trying to escape and hide as she continued on, right?
Yeah.
So evasive maneuver. I'm launched out. Bang my head, and roll a little bit on top of the beer being between my balls. Kind of getting sprayed with alcohol on my shirt.
Why are you drinking at work? Nobody was doing that.
Yeah, that never happened. You picked me up, and we hid behind one of those mama boxes where mothers can go on game days.
The titty crates.
Yeah, and they could milk or whatever they do in there. I have no idea. Mm-hmm. We go back there, and you're like, Jeremy, are you okay? I'm pretty sure I'm concussed. I'm positive I was concussed, but like, whatever. The pain wasn't like, I'm going to die. I need to go to the hospital. I was just like, God damn, that hurt. This is a little sore. So we're back there. What do you tell me?
When we got to
when we're hiding in the back area there, you're like, are you okay? Are you okay?
Oh yeah.
You could punch me in the dick. Make it even. Punch me in the dick.
I said punch me in the face because.
Was it the face?
Because you know how like, so. You know how if you're like playing with your brother or your sister, and then one of you gets hurt.
Yeah.
Like, and there's blood, and you're like, oh my God.
Don't tell mom.
Yeah, and you're like, oh God, hit me. And he's like, you want to make it feel better? And he's like, no. It's like, you were like the little brother that's like, like you had something like lodged in your eye. I'm like, oh my God.
You shoved a blade of glass into my eye, and you were like, how do I get away with this?
Don't tell mom, and it's like, we get back to the thing, and
the before we get there, the little icing on the cake, we're back there hiding. All of a sudden, you look at the ground, boom, brand new iPhone just sitting there.
There's a new iPhone, and of course, anybody that knows me knows that I don't touch those things. I can't possibly be associated with these things. So we turn it in to Stadium Ops, and they found the rightful owner. So actually, if you hadn't got hurt, they would have never found their phone. And we were just thinking of what could be possibly the best guest experience. Yeah. Finding your phone that you lost behind the titty box.
All because of the evasive maneuver.
Yeah.
So we get back to the room. I'm a little concussed. You put the ice pack on my head. Jay's just shaking his head like these fucking white guys, these white boys are going to get me fired. The funny thing is, like, right above where I was ejected and launched from the cart, it's like the 4 camera prong stadium security SST's cameras. I guarantee they have video of that where I'm launched out and they're like looking at it like the fucking merch guy's at it again, huh? I would love to see it, but I'm happy that does not exist anywhere. But one of my favorite memories at the stadium is that.
And I'm sorry that your head was bleeding so much.
Yeah, I woke up sore the next day, but it wasn't anything that we don't just bumps and bruises, and you just keep going.
Your face and my face in that picture, we'll bring it up, but like in that picture, it's like you could tell that I'm trying to like console you, and I'm like trying to make you laugh, and you're like,
I was playing into it. No, I was definitely playing into it. I crossed my arms and gave a pouty face and everything. That was good times. Good times.
It was just what we got up to after like the games where we couldn't really like leave right away.
Yeah.
Right. But like people were bringing that was kind of the time when people were gathering their cash together. And we'd have to go meet him in the cash room. So
we'd have to wait to get the cash counted to do our end of the day report. So it's multiple hours after the game.
And I mean, I was talking to Tim about this for last episode, but you won't get another mixture like that everybody will get along, and everybody, dude, it was wild that everybody got along. There was no like real fights, no real people that were, trying to fuck things up. Later on, there were.
Yeah.
And
it was the Wild West. I know that's been uttered a couple times of this pod when we're looking back on it, but the beautiful thing, and I think it was what you and Ben got into, is all of us got in there. For myself, for Ben, for Blake, it was kind of their first real job out of college. And on top of that, none of us were married. None of us had kids. This is literally 10 years ago to the day.
Yeah.
Tomorrow would be of our first ever event, that preseason game, which is just crazy fate that we're connected.
Is that right? Tomorrow is the Broncos game.
I brought this up in the group chat. Nobody else was blown away. I fucking hate you guys. Like, that was incredible. Sorry.
You text us all the way from LA and nobody pays attention to anything.
You get the same message at the same time. August 17th, 2014 is that Bronco Niners preseason game with the Bronco pin.
Yeah.
That's that game. August 17th, 2024, tomorrow, is going to be our 10-year anniversary of really getting together and knowing each other. But look at all of us. How 90% of us now married with children in that last decade. We all started there and agreed. It was a little wild, wild west from the retail perspective of how shit was worked. Like, we didn't create these rules and bylaws, and we kind of just inherited them and started figuring it out ourselves and going from there. But getting into all of that from that point to where we felt we had a good kind of repetition on a game day of the 6 hours before the game starts, the, let's say, 6 to 8 hours once the gates open of what we had to do, and then like the 3 to 4 hours post game of just the cool down.
Yeah.
And getting into the laughs, the jokes of what went crazy, of from our staff to fans, what fights did you see, and then the game itself, like, oh, this play, that play, fantasy football that was going on, literally where we're at today, 10 years ago when we started this league, of connecting on those, watching Red Zone in the bungalow and seeing all that stuff. So we got into a good rhythm over the years of getting through those game days, but nothing like it. I think being stuck there for those 15, 16, 20-hour days, the concerts were obviously a different animal.
20-hour days, that was only on game days. On concert days, it was, you're there for, sometimes 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. the long way.
Yeah. Super Bowl was legit I want to say like a full 24 hour. I remember getting to that parking lot over where the Earthquakes play at about 3 a.m., maybe 3:30 in that ballpark. And then getting back there at the end of the Super Bowl at about 2:30 to 3. I heard you and Blake talking about like getting back to the parking lot that night and waiting for the cops to leave because
stadium ops, they made good probe droids
to be on the field post game. And let's just say, you know what the cool thing was? Everyone's there, all things going on. We were working for the food and beverage company there at the time. And it was our team. It was Jay. It was a couple of the other guys. They brought out a flatbed full of just cases and cases of beer.
Beer, champagne.
On the field.
Yeah, everything.
I remember like there was a Brazilian news coverage, like the ESPN version in Brazil, the TSN version in Canada. They're doing their post-game live reports from there, and we're just right in the background. All of a sudden, they sign off, and they're done. Like, hey, can we grab a beer? Are we cool to like drink here? And it just turned into like post game of the Super Bowl on the field. I remember running routes against the Blue Angels.
Yeah.
And probably I was a dick, but beat the guy on a fade route. Someone gave me a good ball, caught the ball, and I spiked that ball and gave him a Ric Flair woo right on a Blue Angels. They were the guys that flew over early, but
and what I remembered was it was like I knew I was having a girl at the time, and it was like what I noticed is that how many female pilots there were. You know, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna tell Aurora about this when she's born. That like we're popping bottles with the Blue Angels here.
Yeah,
you know, and that to me, because I fly, you know, I'm a pilot myself, and so like to be with that, there is no fighter pilots are the best of the best, right? American fighter pilots are the best of the best of the best.
Who's your favorite movie fighter pilot of all time?
Oh, man, probably Wedge. Is
Han Solo a fighter pilot?
No, he's a freighter pilot.
He's a smuggler.
He's a smuggler, but he's also a pretty good freighter pilot, and it's different, right? The fighters,
shooting.
You know, when you go into the military or anything, everybody wants the planes that start with an F. If you don't, then you start with the ones that have a B. Then you have like the C's and the H's.
Does that stand for fighter or bomber?
Usually stands for fighter or bomber.
Okay.
But those are the ones that are like the most fun to fly, and those are the ones where it's like you wear special pants, right? Mm-hmm. That constrict your legs so that you don't run out of blood.
Yeah.
You know, because you're sloshing your blood all around. You know, like you're one big bucket of blood.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just that kind of thing is so wild to think of. And like I said, like the best pilots are fighter pilots. The best pilots in the world are American pilots. And the best American pilots are the ones that fly in those formations, like the Thunderbirds, the Blue Angels. That's the best of the best. That's you know, like, and
I caught a touchdown against that guy.
Yeah, and just popping champagne bottles with them on the field is like,
man.
That's such and all the news.
You got a good picture with them, right? You were with all of them, and they're still in their Blue Angels jumpsuits.
I don't know where it is.
I remember seeing it,
but man, it was like Jay decided he was like, "There's no alcohol on the field yet."
It was the other guy. Who was the guy? Devin. Remember the guy Devin?
Yeah.
Short dude. He came out with all that and Jay. And if you recall, like going to like a high school party or an early on party and there's no alcohol yet and there's hundreds of people there and no one's really getting going, and then you're the crew that shows up with the alcohol. We were the coolest people on that field at the end of it. Dude. And everyone came to us, and then it just turned into an awesome party for the next hour and a half.
This dude literally shows up with a truckload of alcohol on the field on Super Bowl 50.
Yes.
And it's like, now it's on.
I remember John Elway, the Broncos won this Super Bowl. We should say Broncos-Panthers Super Bowl, so probably one of the most lackluster Super Bowls of the last 2 decades, but
Peyton Manning's last game.
Yep, Peyton Manning's last game. He won it. He didn't really do anything. There was the funny story that I tell. There was no receiving touchdowns in it. There was a defensive touchdown and a rushing touchdown, a bunch of field goals. I'm the only one that caught a receiving touchdown that day.
Well, that's true.
Thank you.
But dude, so that was actually Cam Newton's last game before he started turning to Tyler Perry's Medea Goes to Jail or whatever the fuck he turned into. You know, like
that was Cam's MVP year. Panthers go 15-1. They were a great team.
Luke Kuechly.
Yeah.
And Greg Olsen.
Greg Olsen, your boy. Good friend of yours, right? Mm-hmm. that was the game itself. But yeah, that post game, one of the coolest moments and experiences I've ever had.
It's a wild world for people that don't really know, and if you're just going there to go to a game or whatever, there's a before the game, there's a during the game, and there's an after the game. That's just like you're there for the long haul, and you're just that place was our home.
Yeah,
you know.
It was beautiful that all of us got into managerial roles. We were able to dictate and really control our role and what we were doing and our hours and duties and all that stuff. You were the IT specialist that I mentioned earlier that you could BS your way through anyone no matter what the issue was. And, if someone had their purse on the cord and that's why their station wasn't working, you were the best person to solve that over a radio. I mean, like, can you lift up your bag first before you call me? And then they get back. Yeah, we're all good here. Thanks, Josh. Click.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
Oh, I loved it. Nothing better.
Isn't that wild that it's mainly the purses that get everybody's problems?
Yeah. Well, we had the little setup. No, Sierra
right.
Nevada.
This episode of Caught in the Moment has been filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Quiet on the set.
Applause. Levi. Oh. Yeah, where's the sign? So I know when to...
So, I mean, let's. You said you had something exciting planned. I'm still waiting for that.
As a fellow podcaster so we're not exciting yet. As a fellow podcaster myself, I love posing the questions, what you've done so well with all your previous guests. I want the crowd to get to learn a little more about you, Josh Cotton. You are a very interesting person, to say the least. So nothing too crazy, just kind of the topical conversations
Are
here.
you with law enforcement?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right.
As you can see in some of the backgrounds, I got Han Solo's cock right over my shoulder. There's a Buster Posey nearby. Who is your favorite cardboard cutout that you have here in the garage? And for those that aren't on the camera, we got George Bush, we got Bob Ross, we got Hulk Hogan, we got fucking Chuck Norris with 2 Uzis.
Who else do we have?
I don't know. You tell me.
We have John Cena.
Where's John Cena?
You can't see him.
Great answer.
He's over there, actually.
You literally hit him.
Yeah.
So no one can see him.
Yeah.
All right,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
If I had to pick, it's got to be Hogan. Because the story behind it, because also...
Was this the WrestleMania one?
Yeah, that's the WrestleMania one.
The Miranda one.
It was, yes. It was under the custody of someone else for a little while and just didn't belong there.
You're the rightful owner of it.
I shaved my mustache just to look like his during WrestleMania, and I saw him. I stroked my stash. He stroked his back. I mean, what more do you want?
It's a lot of stroking going on.
What more do you want? I mean, that's kind of like there's no other feeling. That's all I wanted. And we had a signing event before that.
Yeah.
Before that. Remember,
they were right outside the team store.
Yeah. That was when me and Jay had the merch trailer, and we forgot to lower or we forgot to raise up the anchors, so we were dragging that shit down Tasman. It was like, and there's a gash.
Yeah.
And Stadium Ops, all we could hear was like, fucking merch.
Wasn't the first time or the last time they said that.
And it was just me and Jay. He was like, I don't know. Let's just hurry up and get out of here.
Yeah, just grind it all the way down the street, Cotton. Got this.
It was just like that time in the movie Cars where like he's fucking up that road, but like it was just like that. It was like I felt like that.
Yeah, great Cars reference.
Just do what I can. Cars. Have you seen that clip of I think it was like Cars 3 or something where they discover that car in like I think it's a different country, but so in the movie Cars, all the windshields they have the eyes, right?
Sure. Yeah.
This one car had a windshield that was blank, and the lights were the eyes.
Yeah.
And it freaked out Mater. It freaked him out.
Mater was the trash.
Do you know why that is?
Or the tow truck, right?
Yeah. Do you know
Larry
why that
the
is?
Cable Guy.
Yeah. Do you know why that is?
No, I don't.
It's because the cars in the movie Cars are sentient cars.
Of course, non-Transformers.
They were made after the end of people. That car in particular was made to have a human in it.
So you're telling me
why it scared the shit out of the other cars.
The movie Cars is a post-apocalyptic setting?
Yes.
Wow. Speaking of cars,
You heard it here first, folks.
What is your favorite car ever made? You had to pick one make, one model, 1 year. As a car guy that built a car from literally scratching dirt and paint that now has a Bumblebee. What is your favorite car ever made? paused for dramatic effect.
Oh my gosh, it's definitely some kind of Camaro.
What did you make? What's the exact year
This
that
is
you made?
74 Camaro that I have, but the word Camaro, it's a derivative of the word companion or compañero or friend. It's a
Amigo
it's a
for
friend.
some.
So you're driving a friend. You know, they were either going to make it that or they were going to name it I think like a Panther, right? So you could have a Panther SS and the Firebird because the Firebird is like a brother of Camaro, but
Yeah.
it means friend.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's what I've been driving around for. It's my 6th, and I won't look back.
Dang, so you've had 6 Camaros?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's a Camaro. What year would be the one model that you enjoy the most?
I think the only one that I would get, and I say this, and I probably still wouldn't do it, but the only one that I would get rid of this car for would be like a 69.
So that's the range, the late 60s, early mid 70s.
No, just the 360s years. Those 3 years, 67, 68, 69, are the most sought after Camaros. And you can either choose to spend that money on a Lamborghini or an old Camaro because they cost the same price.
What would you spend it on?
What would I spend it on? I don't have that kind of money.
You want to get a Lamborghini?
Shit, I will never buy a European car, I don't think. Except maybe an Aston Martin. But what Maserati, Lamborghini, Ferrari, that stuff doesn't interest me as much. It doesn't have the personality.
Yeah.
You know? I
They
mean,
have to have personality.
has to have personality. It has to have some things wrong with it to where it almost acts like an animal.
Yeah.
Instead of a machine, you know? Because then you're kind of like taming it. You're like, whoa, girl. And you say things like that. With my last one,
Yeah.
I didn't have power steering. I had to take some of the amenities out in order to make it faster. So I took power steering out so that I had a more powerful fuel pump that was attached to my more powerful alternator, and it was a bigger alternator, so I couldn't have the
You know what my solution's been to make a car go faster?
buy a 2-wheel drive V6.
No, I just press the pedal down a little more. It goes faster. Moving on. What is your favorite event you've ever experienced
Hold on.
in live sports at Levi
Hold on.
Stadium?
Who the fuck do you think you are? You're gonna come on my show and you're gonna attempt to insult me? You know, I watched The Godfather the other day.
Yeah.
So don't cross
this
me.
on my daughter's
Right.
wedding day?
You remember what happened to Luca?
He didn't make it. Luca Brazzi.
He was loyal. What's that get you? Piano wire. You know? Cement shoes.
Favorite event you've ever worked at Levi Stadium?
Oh, I told you it was easily the hockey game.
Really?
Yeah, that hockey game. Because also, on a personal note for me, that was when my wife met my sister, and I was like, sure, I'll get you both in because my wife, big Sharks fan. My sister lived in LA and she came up because she was a Kings fan.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, just wear like some business attire and I'll say that I'm getting you guys in for an interview. And so they were at David's
The
for
Alan
forever.
Netness special.
Yeah. Yeah. But so I was, they were at David's waiting for me to call them, which I didn't until like halftime, right? Halfway through.
Yeah.
There's really no halftime in hockey. It's like, I think
Intermission.
First intermission.
Second intermission.
So they're over there and this news lady goes over to my sister and she's like, oh, I love your hair. And she flips her hair. Right?
Solid.
Which is like a total like bitch move. Apparently that's like taking your little glove out and be like, I challenge, to a duel.
Yeah.
And for a woman to get your hair flipped by another woman that you don't know,
Yeah.
like flip like that's
It could have led to something.
That is some stuff. And then my wife and my sister were about to get in a fight with her on the same team,
Damn, so it was a
Get
true
on the
bonding
same
moment.
team. Yeah. Because, I mean, if you know my sister, well, it makes sense. But, like, holy shit. And it warmed my heart.
Yeah.
To know that they were going to fight this news lady.
Yeah.
And her crew was there. Sure. She had the guy with, like the backwards cap and the thing and like the boom guy and all that stuff. They had the crew. But it didn't matter.
Yeah.
They were about to fight her in some business attire.
That's Did not
now
think
I get goosebumps from it.
Did not
Just
think
saying.
when I asked you that, one, that would be the event, and two, the reasoning behind why that is the event was there. So that's a phenomenal experience and memory that you have.
It's the personal aspect, right? And so it's like, I mean, I don't know. I actually feel bad because I tell my wife about this, and she's like, "Yeah, you let me sitting at David's for 2 periods," you know. And so, yes,
2 periods in hockey.
2 periods of 2 periods of hockey. Not 2 consecutive months. Of course. But little did she know she wouldn't be having periods long after that.
Pregnancy, we're talking about.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, we didn't get her circumcised.
I love the Super Bowl. That would be mine. The only other one really in that consideration is WrestleMania. Growing up a wrestling fan, I think it was me, our boy Alan, shout out here off camera right now.
He'll be on the next episode.
Yeah, in a couple weeks. When The Rock, when you hear "If You Smell" and The Rock entered that stadium, I've never felt electricity like that at a sporting event. Like, we get it for football or basketball or whatever sport you go to. Like, you get your standard national anthem. Here's the introductions. Here's the starting lineup. Boom, we're starting a game. With wrestling, where you're not expecting it, and then you hear The Rock coming in, and he literally took 45 minutes to get from the top of the stage to the ring. It just continued to build and build. And
yeah, how did it take him so long? Was he Joe Biden?
No, Joe Biden would not have made it. He might have stumbled. We won't get into it too much, but
we're going to get into it.
He probably would not have made it down there. But those were the great Super Bowl, WrestleMania. Niners kind of went on a roll there last couple of years. That was pretty good too.
One thing I remember about working with WrestleMania is that they were so organized.
Yeah.
You see wrestling and you're thinking like, oh, it's probably a bunch of carnies and this and that, but they are more like the military.
Yeah.
Than anything else. It was like, what do you need to get this hooked up?
Yeah.
What do you need?
Yeah.
And I just gave them like a hypothetical, like, well, if I had this, it has line of sight transmission. Okay. It was there the next day.
Yeah. They were really good. They were efficient. They got in, they got out. We were talking a little bit about this earlier. You are a pilot. If you could be on any mythical spaceship traveling through the galaxy, I'll give you a couple options. You could be on the Millennium Falcon. You could be on the U.S. Enterprise through Star Trek. You could be on the Starship on Starship Troopers.
Am I on the Enterprise D?
You could be on any D you want to be.
Kirk's Enterprise?
Any D you would like.
Archer's Enterprise?
One with Lamar.
Basically all
Picard's Enterprise?
Picard. Stormship Troopers. You could be on, I hope I got this right, the Jupiter spaceship from
Jupiter 2?
From Lost in Space. Any of those spaceships traveling through space, which one would you most want to be on?
Does the TARDIS count?
You could do an other. I'll leave that as an option.
Because that's Doctor Who. And for those of you who don't know, I'm bringing it back. I really am not a fan, but that would be the best thing to travel on is a tiny little phone booth that's really big on the inside.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick something that's more viable, I'd probably pick the Falcon. Especially if it's piloted by Han Solo. But I could probably still do it myself.
You're there with him and Chewie. Like you're traveling through the galaxies.
No, we've killed them. It's me and Sanford.
Yeah, that works. That checks out.
It's Sanford. And really, I mean...
Han Solo, right there.
Because he's made a couple special modifications to it himself. And once you have a vehicle and you make special modifications to it, those are special modifications that you know. And so it's like, when you go to sell that car, you're going to have to like, every little modification you make is an extra paragraph that you have to explain to this guy. Like, oh, well, when you do this, you actually have to, you have to hit the gas 3 times. Then you have to turn the AC all the way up and all the way down. And then, it's an interesting way to customize a machine.
Are you talking about customizing the Millennium Falcon?
Yeah.
I never even thought of that, but
it has custom modifications. It's a Corellian YT 1300 transport.
12 parsecs? 14 parsecs?
Less than 12.
8? Less than 12
parsecs is a measure of distance, and he made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. So that means that the Kessel Run is not necessarily a race as much as it is.
All right, you as a pilot, next question. You're flying cross country, 747 jet. You're there with your family. Everyone's comfortable. You're going from here to New York City to go visit our buddy Tim. The pilot and the co-pilot each eat fish. and they get sick and they both pass out and we got to drag them out of there. And everyone and the stewardess asks, has anyone ever flown a plane? And you raise your hand and say, I have. And you get up there. What are you doing next? Are you going to take it all the way to New York? Are you landing it? Are you confident in that situation?
We're taking it the whole way.
You're just going to jump in?
Number one, we're taking it the whole way. But number two, that's not the dream scenario. The dream scenario is in Independence Day where it's like, well, we have plenty of fighter jets, but we don't have enough pilots. And it's like, oh my God, this is my calling. This, like, that moment was like, oh my God, they're going to give me an F-18? Holy shit. You know, like, and I don't need, like, why does everybody has F-18s, but we're not taking off from carriers? That's a carrier-based aircraft, first of all. Why don't they have F-15s and F-16s? Hell, F-14s at the time. I think you could use a Tomcat back then. But, you know, like...
Nerding out on this.
That's the thing, is what I'm looking for is, like, somehow we are running out of pilots, but we have a bunch of fighter aircraft. I'm like, holy shit, give me one.
Yeah. So instead of saving a plane full of normal people, you would rather save the planet against aliens.
If it has an F in front of it, give it to me.
F for fuck yeah, right?
Give it to me. Yeah, that F means fuck yeah. That fuck yeah 15, that fuck yeah 14, the F fuck yeah F-22, the F, everything. The F-35, the F-22, F-18.
That's a lot of Fs. All right.
It's like my report card.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's why I worked in sports instead of some kind of a reputable job.
Speaking about you working in sports, we've talked about this for literally a decade going back. I always wanted to do a sports podcast. I always said I would have a segment with you on it called Sports with Josh. Mm-hmm. You were the IT specialist. Yeah. You are Josh. Mm-hmm. You started the podcast and have me on it now. So we'll get you out of here with the last two that you probably have no care about: hip hop and NBA. Okay. First question is,
Just kidding.
Who won the beef, Drake or Kendrick?
Diddy.
Damn, what? Are you still a fan of Diddy?
I mean, if anybody won, it's whoever Diddy's protecting, right? Whoever set him up to have that little honeypot jar of his that he set up, and he's just kind of getting everybody in compromised situations. Whoever set him up to do that is winning.
Do you think Diddy killed Tupac? Did he have the hit to kill Tupac?
Did Diddy kill Tupac?
Yeah.
No, Diddy didn't do anything. Diddy's an industry plant.
Oh, it's that now. It's a conspiracy.
I mean, I've always been a fan of Bone Thugs. That's been my thing.
That's your hip hop?
Bone Thugs is my go-to. Bone Thugs, Coolio, I'm good. Okay? But, you bring Diddy in and stuff. It's like, now the ultimate diss is kind of like, hey, I saw you at the Diddy party. You know, like that's...
Now that's the Michael Rubin party.
That's it's like it's like Chris Hansen should have been at every party.
Yep.
You know? I mean, it's...
Certified lover boys.
You see that kind of thing happen, and it's a wild thing, but Drake and... I mean, I think it got a little bit too personal at some point, and there was a call made that was like...
A little too personal? Like, one of them said, Kendrick told Drake's mom, your son should effing die. That's pretty personal.
And he will one day. We all will one day. But, you don't have to remind her.
Yeah.
You know? Because she'll be dead, hopefully, before him.
All right, got a basketball question for you. Who's the greatest of all time, LeBron or MJ? Or the individual on my t-shirt?
Who is that? Mac Dre?
It's Mr. Kobe Bean Bryant.
I mean, Kobe certainly had the best hang time.
Did he?
Not on the court, though. But I do think it's got to be MJ, right? It has to be. Or you go all the way back and do Wilt Chamberlain, those days where everybody had these gnarly sideburns and they were like sleeping with all these kinds of like...
Do you know how many cretins. Women Wilt Chamberlain claimed to sleep with? Shout it out from the audience if you know.
Was it triple digits?
20,000.
20,000 women. We did the math.
There's not even 20,000 women in the world.
Factually inaccurate.
They played against plumbers, man.
If he started at 16 and I think he died at like 61... I think he would have to have sex with like 1.25 people per day. So some days he might have it 3 or 4 times, but to get up to 20,000.
So every once in a while he has to have sex with a paraplegic.
I don't think those people count as half
that's
points. Yeah.
Because if you're drawn and quartered, that means that a horse has got all of your limbs and it's towing you in different directions. And so if you're drawn and quartered, you're basically that's a quarter. So you're just basically the unit of a person.
That makes sense. Definitely. That's about as far as I thought sports would go with you. Just goes in a big circle and we got nowhere, which is what I always hope for. That was great.
All right, Jeremy. Well, you can, when you're on that train back to LA,
won't be a train.
When you're on that boat back to LA, just think of the good times we had here and, I'll really miss you.
Cotton, I'm proud that you created a podcast. Cheers to you one last time before we get out of here.
To me.
I'm glad we talked about this for years, and this is the coming of all those thoughts and ideas. So cheers to you. Your camera just died, so this isn't even being recorded anymore. But pleasure as always, Mr. Cotton.
All right, buddy.
See ya.
See you guys.